show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Woldu. I'm trying to fight off a bit of a cold here. Hopefully I don't spread it to these two gentlemen that are with me today. First of all, my co-host, Garry Buchanan, radio announcer for the CPCA, as well as general manager of the Lloydminster Bobcats. How are you today?
Bandits.
Bandits. Why do I keep saying that? And there's a reason why I did that. Because he is the head coach and general manager of the Lloydminster Bobcats. Garry Van Hereweghe, awesome to have you on.
Thank you, and looking forward to it.
Excellent. Bandits, Bobcats.
Yeah, there we go.
Make sure we got that settled.
The two Bs.
Yeah, well, speaking of Bs, we'll talk about the Boston Bruins. How would you describe this? You're down 4-1. You're Claude Julien. You're down 4-1, about 10 minutes to go, rallying the troops. And to see them come back, tie it up, and then win it in overtime. Sense of relief, belief, what would you describe this as?
Well, certainly I think that third goal was the big turning point. And once you get to within one against an inexperienced team like Toronto, the pressure's on. And I think they started to play that way, that they were going to try and preserve that win and maintain that one goal lead. And I really think with the experience that Boston had and the pressure they had, the momentum they had, especially when they got that fourth goal, certainly everything swung their favor going into the overtime.
I think Toronto, more than anything, was trying not to lose the game instead of win the game. Even when they had that 4-1 lead, there was a few breakdowns, and you kind of felt that if Boston gets a couple of bounces, this could go a bad way for Toronto, and it did.
When Toronto was up 4-2, about 5 minutes to go, you had Fratton, who had a breakaway chance. Missed, it was a save. Tuukka Rask had a piece of it. Go down the other way, momentum was shifted. Could you say that play in particular, because you would have been up 5-2, it was safe to say the game would have been over by then. But after that save, did you start seeing things shift, and was that particular save by Tuukka Rask really the momentum builder the Boston Bruins needed to get that third and fourth goal?
Certainly, I think a two-goal lead as a coach is one that I'm just not comfortable with, because you know if they get that next goal that the pressure's on and things are going to change. So that opportunity by Fratton, if he scores on that to make it 5-2, I totally feel that the momentum's taken away from Boston, and they're not going to get back into the game. So there's no doubt about it, that's a huge turning point, scoring that goal, getting that 3-goal lead, and having that little bit more cushion there, because like I said, that 2-goal lead, if they get one, then the pressure's on, and I think that could have been a difference.
Unfortunately for us this past season, for the Bandits, we've blown a lot of 3-goal leads in the third period, and so I know what Toronto's feeling like when you're holding on to that lead and it's a 2-goal lead or even a 1-goal lead, and all of a sudden it just kind of evaporates in a hurry. You're wanting a goalie to make a big save, and they got that big save and they turned around on him. And, hey, at least Toronto's got the Blue Jays now to cheer for.
Give credit, though, to James Reimer for the fact that he played lights out. You can't necessarily blame him, and has to be that team's reason for going 7 games, to be honest with you. Let's talk about other goaltenders that have played, I wouldn't say out of their shell, but have shown why they're top candidates. Henrik Lundqvist and the New York Rangers, certainly showing that in Game 6, making some last-minute saves, but it seemed like it was a team effort, an overall effort by the Rangers in front of him that helped him out in that 5-0 win over the Washington Capitals. One of the things that was an issue, of course, was the heavy hitters. You got your Rick Nash, who didn't really do much. You had Brad Richards in the same boat. But on the other end, Alex Ovechkin started off well in the first 2 games, had a goal and assist, but was non-existent. His stat line was a goal and assist, -2, 34 hits, 30 shots on goal. How much of this loss, the series loss, falls on Ovi?
I think you got to look for leadership and certainly offense out of Ovechkin, and not only this year but a few of the past years as well. He seems to change his style of game, and
that could be due to coaching, though, because he's had 3 different coaches in the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, is it the pressure of the playoffs? Is it that desire to win? Whatever it is, that chemistry seems to change for him in the playoffs, and you just don't get the output that you have to have from a guy like him on that team. And I mean, all season long, certainly he proved himself that he's more than capable. And I think when you go into the playoffs, that's an expectation that's going to continue. You're not going to change your style of play, and I think he does. And certainly, who's going to pick up that slack when you lose a guy like Ovechkin's scoring, and he's got some good support and role players with him, but certainly not capable of scoring the big goals consistently like he does. And for whatever reasons, I think you got to play the entire game, but offense has got to be a big part of it.
Yeah, you look at it, and when it comes to playoffs, you want your best players to be your best players, and Ovi wasn't their best player. But you look in the last 2 months going into that playoffs, he was by far one of the best players in the entire National Hockey League. He carried that team, and almost to a point where maybe he got a little burnt out going into the playoffs.
I'll actually say this, more than half of his goals during the regular season were on the power play. They virtually had no power plays in this series, and I guess you could attribute that to maybe discipline on the New York Rangers, not retaliating, really getting under their skin, and causing them to create penalties. You saw that in Game 6 with Mike Green, when he cross-checked Dorsett in the face after the attempted slew foot. You could have made arguments about that, been angry, but you got to realize you got to keep your momentum and your emotions in check. I think that was a big issue, and I think that's what ultimately led, and I guess you guys would agree, that ultimately led to their demise, because Washington power play was fantastic in the regular season. They didn't even get any opportunities, right?
And I think the Rangers underachieved during the regular season. They were a team that had a whole lot of skill, a whole lot of talent up front, back end, and of course the net. And I think they underachieved, and come playoffs now, they're kind of playing to how they're supposed to be playing.
And they underachieved in the playoffs as well. The first 2 or 3 games, like you said, their goaltending give them a chance. And you get into Game 6 and win 1-0 like they did. Certainly, you give them a chance, and I think you get a team with the firepower like the Rangers. It's just a matter of time till they're going to wake up. And when you get into a Game 7, if a player's not awake at that point, then obviously there's problems. And certainly they did step up, and as a result of him giving that opportunity to them, their goaltending, and credit to them. And you talk about the disciplined style the Rangers played. I think that was compounded by the undisciplined style that Washington played, and they did take some bad penalties in that last game, and certainly the Rangers made them pay.
And if they could do that in the next round, that's going to be big against Boston. We're going to take another quick commercial break here, but when we come back, we will talk about the second round and Eugene Melnyk making some friends in Pittsburgh. Stay tuned.